There was quiet at first, the kind that sharpens a space, not the kind that fills it. All three of the elder men are sitting too still, and I became acutely conscious of how my dress clung to me when I crossed my legs. Too conscious of the fact that none of them averted their gaze that I should have been anxious. I ought to have gotten out of here, yet I didn't. I wondered how long I could maintain their focus as I sat there knowing exactly what they were thinking. A person leaned forward, another moved around in his chair. The third did nothing but observe me steadily. I discovered I enjoyed it at that point. Not the fame, but the authority. I also wanted to test how far they would allow me to go. Spend a moment liking and subscribing to this video before I reveal what transpired. It's free, quick, and believe me, you won't want to miss what I let happen next. Now, this is how it began. It seemed harmless at first. In a room with only the four of us, we are half watching a game and half talking to one another. I can't even recall what initiated the transformation. Perhaps a pause in discourse. Perhaps it was the way the twilight light fell on my legs when I crossed them. But I observed it, that moment of silence. The hush was filled by the fact that everyone was staring at the same object. My expression remained neutral and informal. It was unnecessary for me to speak. I simply shifted to a more relaxed, leisurely sitting position, allow my dress to rise slightly without adjusting it. After a moment, one of them became aware, followed by another. He made the initial move. Leaning in with forearms on knees and somewhat direct eyes is all that is required, no drama. I gave him a longer look than I should have. He remained expressionless. He merely observed. The second man also moved in closer. He seemed to be attempting to pretend that he wasn't doing what I knew he was doing, not to me, but to the edge of the couch. Despite his unreadable face, the third remained silent, and his eyes remained fixed on my legs. I kept quiet. I didn't make fun of or laugh. I watched as all three of them simultaneously caught the glass I was reaching for, knowing what the motion would do to my neckline. None of them averted their gaze. And I hadn't left my chair yet. When nobody knows who will speak first, a room can become oddly silent. However, none of them spoke, and I didn't sense the stillness either. I simply leaned back, calmly and slowly, as if I were still feigning ignorance of the weight of their focus. Everything felt louder because of the tension, my glass of ice, my heels gently brushing on my shoe. One of them looked down, saw it, and turned back to face me as if he was trying to hide something. I chose to try it at that point. I got up, moved in the direction of the kitchen without indicating my destination, and then leaned slightly to take something out of the lowest cupboard. Nothing was necessary for me down there. I merely hoped they would follow my lead. All three were looking at me when I turned around. I strolled carefully back to the living room, going past the chair behind which one of them was seated. As I moved, my fingertips touched the top of it, just enough to make sure he felt it, not enough to be noticeable. He moved, his jaw clenched. I took another seat. Closer this time, without being crushed up against anyone. Not yet, just enough to make distance blurry. I then stared directly at the one who was the quietest, the person who had not blinked, spoken, or moved. Neither of us averted our gaze as we met eyes. The first person to speak was him. His tone was quiet, confident, and low. "You are an expert in your field." I grinned, but not very much. "So why are you still sitting?" I asked. Nobody took immediate action. The thing that stuck with me was that. The silence, the waiting, as if they were offering me the opportunity to stop it before it began, but I failed to do so. It was the man next to me who shifted first. He turned just slowly enough that I could feel his body heat before I could feel his hand on my leg. He merely put it there and waited without gripping or testing it. I did not recoil. I avoided looking at him. I allowed my heart to remain steady and my eyes to remain focused. The second man got up and moved across the room behind the couch rather than in my direction. Before I felt his presence, I heard his footfall. I could feel him observing in the same silent, evaluating manner as before. Yes, indeed. The third man did not move. Upon re-examining him, however, I noticed that his hands were clenched. He grimaced. I understood exactly what he was considering. They were all three. I hadn't even uttered a word. To test the area, the hand on my leg travelled up, down, and back again. I caught my breath, but I didn't hold it. I touched the second man behind me with my shoulder. He didn't retreat. He slightly leaned in closer. That is when I changed. Just enough to barely split my legs, not in their direction. Enough to allow the dress to fall as desired. Just enough to demonstrate that I wouldn't stop them if they persisted. I didn't need to speak, and I still hadn't. Now the room is too heated. My neck, thighs, and chest are all feeling hot. I'm still behind one of them. He is close enough to brush my shoulder each time he lets out a breath. His palm is flat against my stomach, stable as if holding me in place without the need to tighten, although I'm not sure which one is touching me at the moment. One more is on her knees before me. His eyes are lazy and heavy on my legs. Since arriving, he hasn't spoken anything. They haven't. However, his fingers first touch the edge of my knee before sliding upward and pausing just before the cloth climbs too high. He's waiting to see if I'll intervene. I'm not. With his thumb rhythmically and slowly grazing the inside of my wrist, the third one remains by my side. He is holding my dress just below the hem with his other hand, which is higher, just warm, not asking, not moving, only there. They seem to understand each other's actions without exchanging words, as like they are orbiting me and moving in unison. My eyes close. I'll let my head drop. My neck is being kissed, just pushing there, not kissing. I get a shiver down my spine from carrying its weight. It only requires me to slightly arch. All at once, their hands move. They all seem to have been waiting for me to take that one breath so they could continue, yet they weren't mean or greedy. Breath on my collarbone, fingers at my waist, and knuckles brushing across my thigh. It doesn't feel slow, even yet everything moves slowly. It feels suspended, as though the room is enveloping us and I'm enmeshed in an uninvited stream that I don't want to go out of. They don't talk, but in every action I can sense what they're saying. Another invitation, each shift, each pause that isn't actually a pause. I allowed it to occur. I do not lead them. I am not a leader. I simply remain motionless, open and silent, and they occupy every available space. I cover every contour, every breath, and every square inch of skin. I don't need to provide guidance. They already know my desires. I can't recall who was the first to touch me. I can't recall who created room for more by pressing closer, sliding their hand behind the cloth, and softly dragging me forward. But I recall the sensation. I can still feel the warmth of their hands. One of them had a firm grip on the back of my neck that caused me to melt into him. The way someone else lifted my leg without hesitation, as if he had done it before and was eager to do it once again. The way they all stared at me alone, even if their hands came into contact. Upon reflection, I no longer see their faces when I lie in bed by myself. Their hands touch me. Would you have waited for permission if a woman didn't say yes, but didn't stop you either, and she gave you the same look that I did? Or, like them, would you have let your hands speak first? In the comments, tell me. I am going to read. Turn on the bell, hit like, and subscribe if you like the story. The next one will have more to offer.